Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we are going to be working with the distressed mica stains, and also we have been doing a little bit of die cutting, and finally we're going to play with some text on our machines too.
So we have mornings from your mum, Linda and Thea.
Hi Mum, hi Linda, hi Thea. So if you do have any questions at any point, I will try and be as in-depth as I can. So I did do some prep last night, if only so that you don't have to listen to my heat gun going. And it's also very, very warm today. So I'm not going to be too long, just so that we don't out. So let's pull in what I've created so far. So I've started with some backgrounds. Now this one is just literally with the mica sprays in the background. And that's using jack-o'-lantern, crooked broomstick, hocus pocus and empty tomb. And you'll see it goes these lovely colours in the background. On top of that I've added the leafy twig die, cut out some black textured cardstock, and I've actually cut into it so that I've just used a section of it. And then I've gone over the top with some of the Pretty Gets Gritty patterner in black pearl. So that's going to pick that up.
Some more mornings to do.
Some more mornings, okay.
Yeah. So you have Nikki, Tracy and Deb.
Morning Nikki, Tracy and Deb.
Evening to Tracy.
Why yes. So the next background. This one is using flickering candle, jack-o'-lantern and bubbling cauldron. And you can see that we've got this gorgeous background. Now on top of that there is sprinkled some water, and if you dry it with your heat gun you're going to get a deeper circle around the outside. If you blot you'll find you just get a lighter circle with no ring around the outside, so the choice is yours. And you do get this gorgeous metallic finish. Again I've die cut a leafy twig die to go over the top, but I've actually snipped into it so that it fits my card piece. So if you look really closely you can see that there's little bits that overlap or that join up. So you just want to take care when you're doing that, as the inks are water reactive, so when you use glue you are going to get a little bit of transference of colour. If you dry it fairly quickly you don't get too much though.
Who said, hey, I made it.
Anyways, so where we snipped into our leafy twig die here, I actually have the remaining part of it here. So that is just one die cut that's being kind of chopped into. Sorry.
That's right.
So I'll just show that again. So that one comes out of there. And I thought this one, as we've got this curve here, it would be really nice to do something with a bit of a circle decal. So I'm going to be doing that on the machine. Then I have this lovely stencil background. Now this is done in 3 layers. So the first layer that you can see is the orange into the green into the purple, and that's done with distress inks. Then if you look really closely you can see the little dots, and those are done with distress oxides, and that was the next layer that's applied. So you want to go fairly thickly so that you can see it on top of your inks. Finally I placed a different stencil on top and actually sprayed the empty tomb through the stencil. So you will get quite a soft edge. Thank you for that.
There's Karen.
Hi Karen. Okay, so then when we start to tilt it, each time you kind of change the angle you're going to see something different about this background. So in some lights you're going to notice the dots more, in some lights you're going to see the metallic of that spray, and then when you're straight on, most you're going to see is your ink. So it's a really cool technique to try that out. Then I did a load of cleanup. So I've already cut Spooky from this, which is ready for one of the cards. But again, each time I sprayed, I put another piece of card on top and actually lifted that off, then sprayed it with water and actually picked up the rest out of the tray. And we can use that for die cutting. I've done one here with just the flickering candle and jack-o'-lantern, and I thought that would be a good one to use as a backing so that we can actually cut through the card and see that behind. And more clean-up, so these were quite fun to do. And even our stencil where we sprayed through it, we can clean that up onto a piece of card and use that for something else. You don't tend to get as much of the mica on that one, so that's something to bear in mind. This one, I have Distress ink for our background, then sprinkled it with water, and then sprinkled the mica on top. So we're using that flicking technique. Now this one's really fun, I like this one. So what you do is you spray your card with water, and then I've literally just dropped that colour on and just let it bleed. So you'll get these little dots of mica, but then the colour itself actually bleed outwards. It's really fun to do. And finally, this one is a mix of Distress ink spray and the mica sprays. So you have the flickering candle and jack-o'-lantern on there, along with some crooked broomstick to get these browny shades, but then the tealy shade is Salvage Patina.
Tracy, my favourite now is that orangey one, and then another favourite, the one with the purple green on it.
That one.
That one, the orangey one before that.
Oh, that one.
That one, yeah.
I like that one. I love the tones of the mica. So the micas in the spray are actually colour matched. So rather than just being a kind of neutral mica, they're actually coloured. So they do look gorgeous. So let's decide which one to start with, shall we? Let's go for this one and do our die cut letters. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to concentrate on building the layers of my card. So rather than focusing on, let's say, a particular focal design, so I'm going to do my spooky and decide where I'm going to put it, and it's probably going to go up here.
I don't know, could you make a moon?
You probably could make a moon.
Because it looks like it's a night sort of...
A night sky.
A night sky. You could have your spooky then a bit lower down, but your spooky's quite big, isn't it?
Yeah, my spooky is quite big, so if I space out my spooky so you can see it. And this is cut using the Tim Holtz dies. There we go. Spooky. And these are really gorgeous when the die cut. It almost seems to enhance the mica when you actually die cut into it. So you can really see the purple on here, even if you can't see it in the original card. So it's gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is, let's go for Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I intended to go for this one, so that it's got a nice strong contrast, but I'm thinking, do I want to save that for my other section? So, see, that's not quite tall enough. Oh god, let's go for that one, because that should be nice and contrasting then. So one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my card on its side, and I'm going to get my tea ruler. What?
Turn off the scan and cook camera for a minute, just so you've got
Okay. Now, let's just check out enough room.
Cheshire says, OMG, you keep reading my mind all the way from Australia.
I need some glue.
Bit the full pot, not the empty.
Yeah, so I did top this up, didn't I? So I'm just going to do a few little dots. Doesn't take much to stick these letters, but you want enough that if your machine catches it, particularly if you have a DX, that it's not going to pull the letter off. Now this is where you want to try and get it as close to upright as possible.
Beverly says good morning.
Morning. And I'm going to just go around the other way and just check that is upright before it dries too much. Now with your letters you can choose to just put a border around each letter and keep them as separate and stick them onto your card, or you can keep them in one piece. So I'm going to go about there. Now we know our S is upright, so if we use that as a spacer, it's kind of nice and easy to work with. So you get one die per letter in the set. So when it comes to doing your ooh, you need to cut 2. And save the bits out to the inside of your letters, because you can actually use those as embellishments for other bits of your design.
Or if you did use the outline that you had for a stencil, you could use it for the negative, so just to tell you.
Yep, there's lots of ways that you can work with your letter dies. If you have something like your masking film, you can use those through that and then apply your inks over the top and just peel them off and you've got ready done lettering. So that's a good trick to use if you are wanting to do a single layer card. Now this bit it might struggle just because it's quite dark in there, so I might have to give that a little bit of a helping hand, but we'll see how it goes. So, how is it where you are today? It's very, very warm here. Y is always a funny one to place because it's wider at the top. But there we go. So, we have our spooky. Now, just because it's going to struggle a little bit with that.
The way says gorgeous weather here. Linda says currently 79 degrees, so have the panel.
Yeah, it's very warm here, and I'm sure our fan will be going on shortly.
Yeah, we just don't put it on for streaming, do we? Noisy things.
Makes it hard for you to hear us then. So I'm just going round the outside on just the K, where it's got that darker patch. So hopefully Scanning Cup can pick it up a little bit easier. And we'll see how it goes. So, cutting mat. Thank you. Let's give it a quick clean. So,
degrees in New South Wales, Australia, still in lockdown.
yeah, I think that could be us in a few months' time. If people want them, we actually need to. Our numbers are increasing, so.
You may need to turn this kind of on the other side. Let's go to
Okay. Just going to pop my blade out. Turn my machine on. So always make sure your blade is removed before doing that initial judder, especially on CM machines. I'm going to push the mat up to the rollers and load it in. Now, because I want to do a cut that is based on the scan, we're going to go to the scan rather than background. We're going to go to direct cut because we want to cut it out of that element. I'm going to use the machine, hopefully, and I'm going to switch my recognition mode to colour because there isn't always a lot of contrast between the two pieces. So hopefully colour should pick it out a little bit better. I'm going to go OK and start. Now, scanner lever. Thank you. So if you get this message when you are scanning, what it's saying is you've also been doing some drawing where we raise the scan glass, and it's saying lower it back down to get a scan in focus. Now, if you have something which has lots of depth to it, but no more than 3mm, then you might want to leave that scanner in the original position and you can just press start. Okay. If you are working with something that's thinner, you can just do what Ian did and drop it down so that it actually lowers that scan glass. So I'm going to start and it's going to go through. Okay, so now it says to frame the image. So what we want to do is we want to drag that arrow inwards so that it's just focusing on the text, but you don't want to be touching the text. Okay, then go OK. It's picked out some but not all. So if we go into our slider bar, you can see it says colour. Now sometimes you'll find it will work better if you lower the number of colours, other times you'll find it go better if it's higher. So I'm going to try higher first. And each time it's going to think about it before it shows you what the new calculation is. Okay, that didn't seem to make it better, so let's go the other way. And we can go to extremes so that you can actually see that it is making a difference. So on 2 it picks up our splodges, so let's go up a little bit. Because we want it to recognise those letters. Now if this still doesn't work, what you can do is use the tracing paper method that I showed you. Or you can try black and white and just see if that sorts it out. So if black and white doesn't do it on this one, I'll show you how to use the tracing paper. So I'm going to go, right, that's not working, let's go back and back again. Okay, direct cut, machine, change mode, black and white. Okay. Okay, I'm going to shrink this right in. It's not quite picking that up enough, don't think, so let's see. No. Okay, we can go back out of it. Let's unload them then. Let's show you the tracing paper method. Is that the lint roller misbehaving again?
Yep.
Okay. So because my tracing paper is bigger than my card, I'm just going to use the sticky on my mat to hold it in place. Saves me having to retape it. Yeah. And I'm going to roughly trace around a letter. Now the good news is you don't have to do this perfectly. It's also quite easy to do because you can kind of push your pencil up against your die cut and use it as a guide.
I'm glad it didn't work in a way, so we can see other ways of fixing it, because I think a lot of us would just panic and throw it because it didn't work. So thanks for showing different methods, and it's appreciated.
That's okay. I need my pencil sharpener. There it is. I'm going to go to a darker pencil.
That's pointy.
Yep, pointy's good. There we go. Because you want it so that the machine can see it.
What's that pencil that you're using?
I'm using a 3B.
There you go.
So while it may not be a perfect representation of the letter, it's close enough that the machine can do the offset. If you didn't want to go to...
Shows there's more than one way to skin a cat.
Oh yes. And if you didn't want to necessarily go to this extreme,
What are you looking for?
an eraser, because I've gone slightly bonky. Thank you. I knew it was there somewhere.
One on your desk.
If you didn't want to go to this extreme, you can always just use background scan and just put a shape around it.
Depends how detailed you want it though as well, doesn't it? If you want it.
Yeah. And you'll notice I'm not doing the centre of my bow. Shouldn't really need it. And I may take the centre out my P as well so that it doesn't accidentally try and cut around the inside. My K went a bit wonky there, so just try that one again. Nobody wants a wonky K.
Could be in your breakfast soon or that.
Wonky K.
Wonky K.
So let's just take out the centre of my P. There we go. Just reinforce that outline where we've done that bit of erasing.
Karen, I see you in the middle of your O's.
So I missed out the middle of the O's and the middle of the P because I just want it to go round the outside and then hopefully weld them together so that our shape should literally go dung 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 ding, then round there and then in there a little bit. And you might find it goes a bit further in where our P is because we've got this gap here and then around like that. So let's see how that goes. I'll load my mat back in. Now this time, because we've used that transparency, we should be able to use our black and white. But there are loads of ways that we can work with text and dies on our scan and cut. So I'm going to go OK, and you can see we've got a spooky. We're going to slide in our arrows so that we're not picking up any extra bits and pieces. So we should have something that looks like that. If we go to ignore object size, we can increase that a bit in case there's any little straggly bits it's got hold of, and go OK. Go OK again. So there's our cut line. We're going to go to offset and we're going to increase it. I'm going to go OK. I'm going to go to edit, select all, OK. And I was going to actually weld those. Let's go back one. I'm going to change that slightly. Let's go back down. Just so we don't lose too much detail of our letters. So that'll do. Let's go OK at that. Keep them separate then. Then, next, I'm going to go for my standard blade. Pop that in.
Yeah, remove it.
And we're going to remove our tracing paper. That's the important bit. Because the last thing you want to do is send through your machine with anything that isn't stuck down to the mat, which our tracing paper where it overlaps our card wouldn't be. Then we're going to go cut, like so, and we can go start. and we'll see how it goes. What's it catching the machine?
It always does it.
Might be a good idea to take her apart and have a clean.
That's the bar underneath. Look. I've seen the bar. There's a little bar that comes down.
Yeah.
It's that that keeps.
Probably could do with lifting back up.
I think it comes down with the.
Now, if you find the group over the weekend, you'll know that my scan and cut was giving me fun and games this weekend. So we will see how it cuts. I'm going to pause it just because it thinks it needs to do it again. I'm just going to check. Yeah, it does. So, okay. One of the reasons why it needs to do it again, and I'll leave it paused while I'm turning back this, is because we've stuck another layer on top. When it's doing that initial check, because this line is so close to where this card is, it thinks it's cutting through a thickness of card that is the depth of the two layers on top of one another. So, with your CM, you will probably find that you don't have to cut it twice. With your DX, it's kind of spring-loaded. It's the best way I can put it, isn't it? So you will find that it will probably want to go around twice, even though you know that card doesn't actually need it. But because it's got that spring load that's just saying it's that little bit thicker, the blade isn't going to quite go through. So you can try to go start, and it will do the next row.
Any questions?
We will pop up the result for the final challenge on the group later, shall we? Especially as I think, you know, I have in mind who I think my winner is, and they're not watching. Or at least I haven't seen them. They may be lurking.
Why it went to 4 minutes at the beginning of the cut, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to know who you think your
Hmm?
winner is. I don't want to know who you think your winner is.
No, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say who I think it is, because I think you should be impartial.
I'm always impartial.
But there were some really good entries this time round.
That's cool.
I've not seen any for the new challenge yet, though. So, if you want to take part in the challenge this month, you have until the end of September, and it's using a file kit that we've put up on our Discord group. So if you need to get entry into that, there's an invite post on the main group on Facebook that you can use to get in there. Then download the file and you can play as much as you want with that and come up with a card that's based on it. So let's have a look, see if that worked. There we go. So we have our spooky text. And let's take that off.
Do you want to unload your mat and do it so I can change camera?
Okay. And let's just pop that up there for a minute, so then you can see it a bit better then. So originally I was going to do these all in one piece, but sometimes it's easy to do them individually, especially if it misbehaves. There we go. And I quite like the look of how it's done that outline using the tracing. So I'm just going to pop that down there for a minute because we're going to want that back. Now let's work out how big we need our card roughly. So my thinking was to go up here with it, and I'll show you both options. So we've got our spooky up here, and Ian says that we should go down here with it and try and put a little moon. So I think the moon idea is pretty funky. So I might use what's left over of that splatter paper that we used in the background to do a moon up here. It would be pretty cool. So let's glue these on first of all. So usually what I do is I work in one of two directions. I'll either work from the centre outwards, or as in this case I'll work outside in. And the glue I'm using is Tombow Mono Aqua. There we go. I might even just drop it down slightly below our background. Let's go for the Y next. Then everything else can kind of get positioned accordingly. So again, drop it down. And because we haven't got that black border this side, it can go a little bit closer to this edge. Very loosely. You alright? Having an ouchie moment. So. Oh, Ian's still not feeling on top form. Are you? Okay, there we go. So there's our spooky. So while that's drying, let's bring in cutting mat. And again, because I want to work with my piece of card that I've already kind of printed, I'm going to bring it in that inch so that we can use the absolute maximum amount of it that we can without having to worry about our active area. I'm going to load the mat. I'm going to go home to reset. Then I'm going to go to pattern, and I wonder if there's one that's already done in our basic designs. There we go, we have a moon already, so we can use that. Saves us having to cut 2 circles.
No, Linda says she's not here tomorrow. She has an admin meeting with Lou and the girls.
Okay.
So I said that would make a good stencil as well. I think yeah, spooky.
Okay, so I'm just going to press that down around the edges. So when we're actually spraying cards, sometimes it's going to cockle. You just want to make sure it just sticks to that mat before you go try and send it through. I've taken down that moon as low as it will go. I'm going to add that to my mat. I'm then going to do a background scan. Okay, now that I've done that background scan, I'm just going to raise up the scan glass. Just because we've got lots of little bits that are curling up and I don't want to accidentally snag it while it's cutting. Now if I go to my little spanner, I can darken my scan because we're working with something that's sprayed onto white card, so we need it as dark as possible to see our edge. We can move our moon over, and we can even rotate it if we think that we can get a better angle to match the pattern that's on our card. So I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees. And you want it to have some colour, but you don't want it to go too dark. So that's one of the things I'm looking at. And I think I'm going to go that way around. Then we can go OK, 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 lots of OKs with the DX. And we're going to go to cut. Now this time, because it hasn't got that spare bit card on top, hopefully it'll only cut it once. Okay, so far so good. And we can pop that off there. You okay? Didn't you? Oh, bless you. So then we can add that onto our card. Almost doesn't need anything else, does it? You'll almost be ashamed to put more on it. Let's see what card base I can find. What size is that one? 6x6, which might work. That's another 6x6. Five by 7, let's try that. Oh, don't lose your moon.
So you said that would look awesome gold foiled.
It would, wouldn't it? My other thinking was with the other card I have in mind was some nice all-on water foil. So I'm just going to fold my card blank so I can see which is the front and which is the back. Usually with pre-scored card blanks there's a leading edge so that it's easy to open. So it's a good idea to always just check. So this one's very slight, so let's see if you can see that. There's a very slight leading edge on this one, so it's longer by a fraction. Some are more obvious than others. So, using my Tombow Mono Aqua, and because I'm doing a larger area, I'm going to use the other end. So this has little teeth on it, and that's to make sure that you don't apply too much glue. It's really good glue for if you're working onto MDF as well. You tend to find that it doesn't wrinkle. So, I was also using it for flower making the other day. Let's just go. Make sure I don't miss anywhere. Now, because it's trade card, it would be a good idea to put a heavyweight over the top while that sets. So I'm just going to apply some glue from my moon. And let's put that there. Like so. And then it's just whether you want to put some little bats or something on it, or if you want to put a little character. So I'm going to leave that as is.
Joe said it needs some gold. I think maybe an outline of the black tree parts.
It's already got like black pearl on it on the leafy twiggy bits, so I don't know whether to go gold or silver. But I will have a think on that one, because I could always use some of my liquid chrome to pick that out around the outside, which would look quite funky. So liquid chrome pens, if you haven't seen them before, by Molotow, and they come in a pack of 3.
Yes.
And they look gorgeous when they dry. They do literally dry like chrome. I usually put 2 coats on, so I'll do one, let it dry, then put another coat over the top, especially if you're working onto porous materials. If you're working on something like acetate or varnish, then you don't need to do that. You can just do one and it will go nice and shiny. It's a really funky pen to play with. Now we need a nice gold version to match, don't we?
So don't do one.
But while that sets, I'm going to put a block on that, or 2. Let's pop that on there. And another little one here. Usually what I do is I put a weight on it so it can just have that weight while it's all setting.
Maybe it's just the camera view, because I can't see any
Oh, you can't see the sparkle. Oh no. I will try and take a picture so you can see the shimmer. It's really nice, but it is quite subtle. So if you're looking for something that's kind of got sort of vintage look to it, it's quite a good one. So what time are we on, Ian?
10-2.
10-2. Oh, shall we leave it there for today and do the next one tomorrow?
Yep.
So what I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to show you how we can actually use cut throughs to reveal colour underneath. So I'm going to be working with a nice white circle. I'm going to cut through our letters so that we can see another circle that's cut from our orange underneath, which will be really funky. And then we're going to layer that up. I'm also going to do a little bit of work with single line text as well. So I will leave it there for today, just because that's taken a little longer than I anticipated because the spooky misbehaved. And I will see you all tomorrow at 11. Have fun and see you then. If you have any questions in the meantime, do hop on the group. If you're not a member already, it's Scan and Cut and Papercraft courses, classes and workshops by Planner Craft. There are 3 questions and a tick box to get in, so please make sure that you do answer all 3 questions. Tick the little tick box and then I'll be able to let you in.
Louise has double booked us for tomorrow.
Oh no.
I think Thea was supposed to be a thanks. Tracy said thanks, not me.
Okay. You're welcome and see you later. Bye for now.